Before I started the games, I went to a bar and got a fresh draft beer. It was a Belgian beer that I never heard of, but I liked the taste of it. It tasted like beer, but it was citrusy. I grabbed the cup and sat on the table. I cashed in 200 and played the game slowly. I had a whole weekend that I could spend in the casino. The goal was to win the money back. I sat in the middle of the table this time. I remembered how people looked at me last night. I felt some sort of the responsibility at the edge of the table. My call could change the result of the entire game. I felt less pressure on the table, and while I was playing a game, I saw someone familiar walking past by me. I knew who it was. He was Demian. I called his name loud enough to get his attention. Demian looked back and he smiled and waved at me. He walked towards me and asked,
"How's your game going?"
"Oh, I just started. When did you get here?"
"Not long ago."
Demian glanced at the table and saw one spot was empty. He sat beside me and he chipped in. He only placed $100 and asked,
"I hope it's my lucky day."
He smirked. "Oh, I hope so as well." We both betted on the table. Demian got 14 and I got 18. Dealer had 7 as an opening card. I waved my hand on the table and Demian hitted the table without any hesitation. Demian got 7. He laughed and said,
"I guess it is my lucky day."
The other players hitted the table and all of them busted. I saw Demian glanced at where the stack of the cards were. He betted $50 on the table for the next round and I betted the same amount. Just one chip.
"I didn't know you would come here this early."
Demian spoke quietly while he was looking at his cards. He got 2 face cards and smiled comfortably. I answered, "Oh, I was just bored at home." I looked at my card. I had a total of 13. I shook my head and hitted. I got clover too, and I closed my eyes to reject the reality. As the numbers got close to 21, I felt the suffocation. I waved my hands on the table, and Demian followed. Dealer had 18. There weren't any surprises. I continued after putting a chip on the table. I won roughly $2,000 last couple weeks, and I just lost $400 yesterday, and I just couldn't stop thinking about the losses. Demain raised his eyebrows and betted a chip on the table. He said,
"Congratulations, you are still winning at this point."
"Not as much as you did last time." Demian smirked and kept silent. He had 1 ace as the first card, and I tapped his table to wish him the blackjack. There wasn't any excitement or regrets in his eyes. I had heart 8 and diamond 3. I took a deep breath and doubled down and covered the card. Demian had number 3 as second card, and he hitted. It was a face card. He hitted continuously. He got another face card and busted. The dealer had a total of 14, and he busted at the end.
"How often do you come to the casino?"
Demian asked, and I answered. "This week I came Thursday, Friday, and today. What about you?"
"I only come on Saturday, or sometimes I skip because I have other things to do."
He betted 2 chips on the table and asked,
"What is your hobby?"
"I honestly don't have any. That's why when I'm home, I just can't endure the suffocation of boredom and loneliness." Demian smiled and asked,
"You are not dating anyone?"
"No, I just don't think I can afford it, and dating apps are not working at all." "I got blackjack and Demian," he said,
"Nice."
quietly beside me, and he got clover 4 and diamond 4. He laughed and splitted. I never thought that would be a good idea, but he always surprised me. Demian got diamond 7 for the second card, and the next card was face card. On the second hand, he had a face card, and he hit it. He got a clover 7. He smiled satisfyingly. I asked Demian, "Did you calculate that?" Demian shook his head and looked into my eyes and said,
"There is no way I can calculate the unseen future."
It was my first time to see such reddish-brown eyes.
"We are gambling, not solving math homeworks. I'm lucky at this moment. There is no such calculation that would work as perfect as this."
He glanced at the stack of the cards and he betted one chip on his table after he finished his sentences. While they were waiting for the cards to be shuffled, a waiter passed by and grabbed my empty glass. Demian saw and told him,
Can you please bring me a draft beer? Cold.
and he gave him one $25 chip to the waiter.
Bring him one too.
The waiter smiled and said,
Thank you, sir.
respectfully, and disappeared. Oh, thank you, Demian, you didn't have to buy me anything.
Don't worry, I just feel like it is my lucky day.
We played a few games. I couldn't count how many exactly anymore, and the waiter brought 2 glasses of beer. We cheered and had a sip to clear the thirst. I already won $200, but it was only halfway from the recovering losses that I had on Friday. Demian put 2 chips after a sip of beer. He said,
Good luck.
I can't remember how many games I played, but it was obvious that Demian was winning insanely, while the amount of my chips stayed the same. When he betted 500, I remembered the moment I lost 500. He won $500, and all I could say was, "That's crazy." I saw how satisfyingly he was smiling when he won the $500, and I asked, "Are you brave or crazy?" Demian laughed and answered.
Oh, honestly, I don't know the difference between bravery and insanity.
He looked at me after the short response, and I saw his eyes glittered brightly. The glitter that he had on the surface of his cornea showed his insanity that was disguised as bravery.
Sometimes consequences judge the words. If I lost this game, I would be just an insane guy. I won, so you might want to call it brave. That's life.
I betted 2 chips on the table and said, "Last time when I was here, I betted like you betted just now. $500. I felt the excitement strongly. My heart was pumping crazy. I remembered my childhood while I was talking. I laughed and continued. Just like when I was in high school, there was a crush I had, and I asked her out, and I asked her to be my girlfriend. I'd say it was about the same excitement that I had at that moment. A moment before I confessed the feelings that I had towards her.
What happened after?
I remembered the tower of chips collapsing in front of my eyes. I got rejected. I smirked futilely. When I lost the money, I just felt exactly the same, like how my first love was over. I had a sip of beer and took a deep breath. Once the breath came into my lungs, I realized something.
Even love is a gamble.
I guess. I hitted the table since I had a total of 13, and I had 5. I stopped at 18. The man continued.
You see, there is a little bit of psychology in the gambling.
He waved his hands on the table while he had a total of 14 unexpectedly. He continued without caring what the dealer's card would be.
You see, I only have $200 bills with me in my pocket. I don't bring my credit cards into the casino. So, if I convert it into these green chips, I have 8 games that I could possibly play.
I was focusing on his words, so I didn't know how I ended up getting the chip. I quickly scanned the dealer's cards. Dealer had 2 face cards and a number card. He probably busted. Demian continued.
If you have less chance or capability, you get despair and frustrated. Honestly, without enough chips in games, you have less chance to win or get the money back.
Demian betted $250 on the table. I betted 1 chip this time and waited to see what Demian would get.
I have enough chips to do something adventurous now. I wouldn't do it if I only had $200 on me.
I chose to watch Demian's play. 1 chip was for entertainment. The dealer served the cards, and I had 2 clover 2s, which was unusual, and Demian got blackjack. I looked at Demian and asked, "What should I do?"
Dealer has 3 as shown, split it. 2 is a good card to split.
After he said that, I showed 2 fingers on the table and betted another chip. I got the face card for the first card, and I hit it. I got number 9. It was 21. On the second hand, I got 7 and a face card. It was 19. At the end of the game, the dealer got busted with 23.
Color in, please.
Demian pushed all the chips that he had. but he divided each chip by 4 so the dealer could count easily.
Do you want a yellow chip?
Please.
Demian looked at 3 green chips left on his table. He tapped the edge of the table with his index finger and betted a chip on the table. I asked, "Are you going to leave?"
No, not yet.
He scratched his head and said,
I learnt my lesson. If I make a certain amount of money, I just keep them in my pocket and please with some changes.
"Only 1,000? Last time you won so much? You betted like $2,000 for one bet last time." Demian laughed and answered.
I have to admit, I was a bit crazy that night.
He covered his lips with open fingers and continued.
I doubt how many happy people would come to the casino, but people who regularly come to the casino are not happy. Happy people would stick to reality. What's the point of coming to the casino and thinking about winning?
What do you mean?
Besides money, why would people come to the casino?
Before I answer, I thought of the reason why I was here. Loneliness, boredom, and dissatisfaction towards reality. Those were the reasons why I ended up in the casino. I mean, you can buy happiness with money. Demian betted 2 chips this time and shook his head.
No. You can't buy happiness with money.
He looked at his own cards and continued.
You can buy the moment of pleasure, not happiness.
We both won the chips this time, and Demian asked,
What do you do when you win the money from the casino?
I would go to the restaurant and have a nice dinner, like winner winner chicken dinner.
And?
I come back here and enjoy the games.
Do you expect jackpots every time?
Of course, that's why I'm here. Demian smiled, but his long fingers covered his lips, and his long hair covered the side of eye that I could see. I asked him a question this time. Why are you here? Aren't you here for the same reason? You are here because you need money. Am I wrong? Demian frowned his eyes and answered,
No, if I need money, I go to work. I love my work and working. I make enough money to afford to live in Toronto.
He finished his glass of beer and continued.
But I will be honest, I do not like to stay home. I'm here to forget something. You forget whatever is in your head if you only focus on the numbers.
He clicked his tongue after. He had a total of 14. He hit it and he had 8. He got busted. I guess you and I are here for the same reason. Demian didn't answer, but raised his eyebrows and lifted his shoulder. He continued his story.
You remember those arcades that were around when we were a kid?
To be honest, I've never been to an arcade in my life. I was never really interested in going to the arcade. If I wanted to play video games, I could easily play the games with consoles at home. I knew about it because I saw it from the movies. Yay, I answered with a wavy voice. He laughed and said,
You never been one, aren't you?
How did you know?
I just noticed there are some young people who have never been to the arcade in their life, probably because most of the places have closed down.
You are talking like an old man. How old are you exactly?
I'm 38.
I was shocked once I heard his age. No way you are 38. You look my age.
Asian genes.
Don't you have kids?
No.
It was the first time I saw his face without any smile. He closed his eyes while the dealer was serving the cards on the table. He shook his head with his eyes closed. He said,
Let's not talk about it.
He didn't even look at the cards, and he waved his hands on the table. We both won against the dealer once again. After the round, Demian colored in his chips and said,
All right. It was my lucky day. I will head home now. I had enough money to have some drinks in the bar.
Hey Demian, can I get your social media? Next time we can have fun together.
Sorry, I don't have one.
He stretched his body and said,
If we meet again, I would call it a lucky day.
Demian waved his hand without looking back. After he left, I started to get better cards and won continuously. I thought it could be Demian took the luck that was supposed to be mine. I recovered the losses from the last time by playing for an half hour. It reached my goal, but I couldn't easily leave after seeing Demian winning $1,000. It was the strangest feeling that I had. I came here to recover the losses and try not to be greedy, but how can I just go home without any progress? I justified my greed as ambition or progress in my life. Without money, I didn't feel like I had value. The only way to prove success in society was showing off the money nowadays. I felt like I was standing on the edge of the cliff now. If I went home, it meant I would just stay at the edge. I couldn't climb up to the hill. I betted after hesitation. The game was going on, and I saw my chips were increasing slowly. I believe I made another $200. This was the timing of the victory. By thinking about the timing, I realized it matters in life. If I pull out from the best timing, then I would regret that I didn't get the opportunity. I remembered the offer that Jason gave to me. To be honest, the offer bothered me. I didn't like the way he talked to me and pitied me. I could make more money than anybody if I kept my job and gambled here. Life is a gamble, and cowards can't be the winner in life 'cause they do not have guts to gamble.